Until October 2015, the so-called Safe Harbor Agreement was supposed to govern the privacy of EU citizens' data transferred to the US. But everything changed with him. Max Schrems wanted his data back from Facebook and successfully prompted the European Court of Justice to invalidate Safe Harbor. Max Schrems, hello and welcome. You effectively, let's say, kill off Safe Harbor. So how would you describe today my data? Is my data safe?
What we see is different trends. A couple of companies are moving data back to Europe where it's not subject to US law, which obviously is typically the better choice. It really depends on the member state as well where it's at. There are cases where they implemented new limitations, for example, standard contractual clauses, which allow much less data usage in the commercial sector especially than Safe Harbor has done before. So there are some improvements. The problem is that we would need a replacement for all this. And the replacement that the Commission has proposed right now, called Privacy Shield, is basically Safe Harbor once again.
Privacy Shield is the word today. It is supposed to replace Safe Harbor, which doesn't exist in theory anymore. Where are the weak points? Because you said it didn't change anything, it's the same again. Are we taken for fool? Or?
Basically, yes. Unfortunately, that's the situation. We have two different main issues. The one side is government surveillance. Privacy Shield doesn't change anything on it. There is an ombudsman that you can address, but she's only going to tell you that everything is fine or not, but she's not going to tell you anything about your case. They're not even going to tell you if you were even subject to surveillance. The other issue is the commercial sector. So what, for example, Facebook or Google can do with the data internally. And there we have teeny tiny limitations, where as a lawyer you only need 2 lines in a privacy policy to override them anyways. So that's very interesting, as the court has requested essentially equivalent protection from the Privacy Shield. It doesn't give it in either one sector, not in mass surveillance, but also not in the private sector.
If we go back just to your years of fight against Facebook, of course Facebook it's not against Facebook, it's about the issue of data protection. How do you see the future now?
And in the long run, the big question is really in Europe, are we enforcing our right to privacy, or are we continuing to kind of put it and post it everywhere and say we're these great, privacy protectors, but in reality we're not doing anything about it, and that may change in 2 years when the data protection reform comes along. Mainly because we have no penalties. In Austria, the maximum penalty in my home country is 25,000 euros. So basically, if you ask a lawyer how to comply with the law, it's going to be much more expensive as a company than just breaking the law. And that's what we did for a long while, because privacy was more seen as like a consumer rights, it would be nice to have thing. But since the Lisbon Treaty, it's a fundamental right in the European Union, and we haven't really caught on to that so far.
But okay, you studied in the US. To change it on the other side, the US would have to change something. If they want to change something, they have to change the Patriot Act. The EU will never have enough pressure to make them change the Patriot Act.
That's a big question if you at least get certain limitations, because on the other hand you got to see that the Silicon Valley is one of their biggest exports, basically. If they have the biggest market in the world, which is the European Union in the end, blocking them effectively because of all these surveillance laws, there would be a lot of pressure from the Silicon Valley and Washington saying, your surveillance laws are damaging our international business. And I think this would be the pressure point to use. Unfortunately, the Commission has basically given in before that.
Let's go back to Facebook. What should I do to have my data safe on Facebook?
It's a question where I don't have any answer to, because basically if you're not stupid online, which most people aren't, if they're not posting their naked pictures, you don't have a lot of possibilities to limit it. Basically companies are trying to tell you you're in charge of it, but in fact you're not. Your friends are posting your data, colleagues of yours are uploading your phone number. You don't even have to be a member of Facebook that they have your data and have a profile on you. We call it shadow profile. So the idea of you as a person being able to change something substantially is, I think, wrong. I think we could possibly change something through legislation. The European Parliament has pushed a lot for the data protection reform, and I do see that this would actually be a substantial change. Really putting that on the individual user is something that I think is very unfair, because no one, not even tech experts that do that every day, really know what these devices do. How should the average guy on the street make this informed decision?
But one more time, is the word data protection even possible today?
Do you see the word? It's about informational self-determination. It's about you being in charge, who knows something about you, who can use your information, and who is making money off your information. You should have all the choices. You could be as naked and not public as you want to be on the internet, but you got to make the choice. It's not someone else.
Max Schrems, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
It seems to be